Welcome to the pharmaphorum podcast. This is web editor Nicole Raleigh, and this episode is being recorded on-site in Chicago for ASCO 2025. And my guest for this Congress edition of the podcast is Itziar Canamasas, Global Head of Oncology at Boehringer Ingelheim. Welcome, Itziar.
Hi, Nicole. It's truly a pleasure to be here today with you at ASCO.
So Boehringer Ingelheim's data presented at ASCO has reflected the company's broad pipeline and growing body of evidence supporting innovative therapies for various cancers. And indeed, Itziar will speak to that data during this episode. But as regular listeners know, I'd like to invite you to share a little about yourself first, Itziar, your journey to today, doing what you do at Boehringer Ingelheim.
So, as you've said, I have the privilege of heading oncology at Boehringer Ingelheim. As a family-owned company, we not only focus on the now, but on the impact we can make for generations. Cancer is it's an unmet need in humanity. There were 10 million premature deaths in 2020 alone, and as a therapeutic area oncology, we're truly focused in bringing unprecedented impact to people facing cancer. And we do that by focusing on cancer cell-directed therapies, but also immuno-oncology approaches, and a combination of both, looking for that patient impact that is so important.
Thank you. So let's shift now to ASCO 2025, where we're sat. When it comes to difficult to treat cancers, what is the unmet need there, that landscape, and what sort of approach does that require treatment-wise going forward?
Indeed, there's still many different types of cancers that have a clear unmet need. One of those are the HER2 mutated cancers. In non-small cell lung cancer in particular, we have developed an asset. It's called zongertinib. It's a HER2 TKI oral treatment designed to specifically target the HER2 protein while sparing EGFR, making it then very potent and at the same time very tolerable. And this design has now been reflected in a first publication on the New England Journal a couple of weeks back, where in this heavily pretreated population of mutant HER2 non-small cell lung cancer, 7 out of 10 patients had significant response, so overall response rate, nearly 100% had clinical benefit, and that was durable. It was 14 months or over 14 months duration of response, over 12 months progression-free survival. But most importantly, patients were sustained or continued treatment with zongertinib. Only about 3% had to be discontinued. And hence the drug truly was tolerable. And at this ASCO, one of the highlights is we're translating this data from New England now from a patient-reported outcomes perspective. And what we've shown is that about 80 to 90% of patients report not being bothered at all or very little treatment. They had an improvement in physical symptoms of 60%. They also had an improvement in regards to one of the major symptoms from non-small cell lung cancer, which is coughing. So after treatment with zongertinib, 50% of patients reported no coughing at all. And at the beginning of treatment, it was only 25%. And we always like to translate that into what's the true impact as a person, right? So it would mean you're maybe in a concert and you don't have those coughing fits and you can enjoy that. Or you may be able then to go up the stairs, and something that you maybe were not able to do before you started with the treatment. So truly, it's a wonderful example on how, as a company, we look for these unmet needs. We developed a very specific targeted therapy that now is seeing what an impact it can have on patients' lives.
I mean, those are amazing results, and thank you for speaking to the quality of life factor there as well. And for listeners, just to clarify, that was for the Boehringer Lung 1 study that Itziar was
Precisely
discussing the data about. So I believe there's also been new data from a study of T-cell engager obrixtamig, which showed encouraging findings in the treatment of extrapulmonary neuroendocrine carcinomas in patients with high DLL3 expression. So what can you tell us about that?
Yes, indeed, this is another example of an unmet need population. Neuroendocrine carcinomas outside of the lung are a rare population. And in fact, the data that we presented here at ASCO is with the largest data set in this patient population thus far. In monotherapy, obrixtamig showed 40% overall response rates with also durable response. And yeah, we're thrilled to be able then to continue to explore obrixtamig. Right now we are in an expansion cohort for this trial, and as soon as we can, being able to bring this therapy to these patients in need.
Yes, sort of durability seems to be a theme of the data you presented at ASCO this year, which is excellent to hear. But besides this data, for you, what have been the highlights from the Congress this year?
One of the biggest highlights for me has been the impact of artificial intelligence. There's been so many posters, so many presentations, biomarker applications and explorations. And in fact, this is something that we're also doing at Boehringer. We announced recently a partnership with Tempus. Also, for example, we recently built an algorithm so that early in the development of any products, we're already trying to understand what are going to be the tumor types where potentially our medicine could impact more patients. And yeah, these are things that we're exploring, and truly one of these impacts from the Congress for me. Another impact has been also the continued trend towards precision oncology. And we were speaking before about zogertinib, HER2 TKI, also obrixtamig. If we look at our own portfolio, there's so much precision oncology agents that we're developing, and that's certainly a trend. And maybe also the third trend in syncing also with the quality of life aspect and the impact on patients, how oral therapies and the importance of oral therapies and being independent from having to go to IV infusions and that impact. This is also a trend that I've observed throughout many of the presentations at the Congress.
Again, to that sort of quality of life, focusing on the individual precisely and with care.
Yes.
So my final question for this episode, if you could solve one major problem in oncology over the next decade, what would it be? One major problem.
Ultimately, we're all behind one goal, which is to fight cancer. And keeping that in mind, having that North Star, and aligning ourselves so that everything that we do can help us achieve that goal. This is the one thing that we don't lose sight, and that we all are going behind this North Star, which is making sure that cancer will be fought, and people will have a better quality of life and fuller life.
What a wonderful way to finish the episode at ASCO 2025. Thank you so much for your time today, Itziar. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine.
And so that concludes another episode of the pharmaphorum podcast. You can find more information about this episode, including a download link and information about previous installments at pharmaphorum.com/podcasts. The pharmaphorum podcast is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and pretty much wherever you get your other podcasts. Just search for pharmaphorum and press subscribe. Of course, don't forget to visit our website itself, where you can sign up for daily and weekly news and analysis bulletins. And do follow us as well on X or Twitter and LinkedIn at pharmaphorum. That's all for now. Thank you for listening.